2014 hours. The Washington Hilton subterranean ballroom. The perimeter shattered. A 12-gauge shotgun blast ripped through the security corridor. Inside that room sat 2,600 of the most powerful people on Earth. The President of the United States, the Vice President. 6 officials in the direct line of presidential succession. They were all trapped in a concrete box underground. This was not a movie. This was Saturday, April 25, 2026. The White House Correspondents Dinner had just become a kill zone. Run the numbers with me. The United States spends over $3 billion a year on the Secret Service. They deploy the most advanced threat detection matrix on the planet. They have counter-sniper teams. They have canine units. They have magnetometers. They have layers of armed agents. And yet, one man with a shotgun broke through it all. 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen bypassed a multi-billion-dollar security apparatus with the exact same weapon you can buy at a local sporting goods store. For every dollar the enemy spent, American taxpayers spent millions to defend, and the defense failed. But here is what nobody tells you. This was not just a lone wolf attack. This was a live-fire stress test of the American continuity of government, and the entire world was watching. What they did not know was that the nightmare began 24 hours earlier. Look closer at the CCTV footage released by the Department of Justice. Friday afternoon, Cole Allen is casing the hotel. He is not hiding. He is mapping the blind spots. He is studying the rotation of the security details. He is looking for the fatal funnel. In close quarters battle, the fatal funnel is the choke point where targets cannot escape. The subterranean ballroom was the ultimate fatal funnel. You might think the Secret Service had the perimeter locked down. You would be wrong. On Saturday night, Allen approached the venue. He was armed with a shotgun. His family later confirmed he had recently purchased 2 handguns and that exact shotgun. He walked right up to the outer perimeter. He bypassed a security canine unit. How does a man with a shotgun bypass a bomb-sniffing dog and highly trained handlers? He moved with purpose. He exploited a gap in the physical barrier, and that was the moment everything changed. He sprinted past the magnetometers. These are the advanced metal detectors designed to stop exactly this kind of threat. But technology only works if you have the reaction time to deploy lethal force. Allen closed the distance. An agent stepped into the breach. Allen raised the 12-gauge shotgun, point-blank range. He pulled the trigger. The blast struck the Secret Service agent squarely in the chest. A 12-gauge shotgun at point-blank range delivers catastrophic kinetic energy. It can shatter ribs and rupture organs even without penetrating armor. The agent survived because of a level 3A ballistic vest. But the perimeter was breached. The gunshot echoed down into the subterranean ballroom. Panic erupted. But the danger was far from over. Inside the Combat Information Center of the security detail, the radios exploded with chatter. Shots fired. Officer down. The protocol for a presidential evacuation is violent and immediate. Agents swarmed President Donald Trump. They swarmed Vice President J.D. Vance. They grabbed the 6 officials in the line of succession. They had to move them. But where do you move them when the shooter is at the only exit? This is the terrifying reality of the Washington Hilton. It was built for prestige, not for a siege. The evacuation routes are limited. If Allen had not been alone, if this had been a coordinated strike team, the American government would have been decapitated in less than 4 minutes. But look at what happened next. The injured agent, taking a shotgun blast to the chest, did not go down. He drew his service weapon. He returned fire. 5 shots, 5 rounds of 9mm ammunition tearing through the corridor. The chaos was absolute. But Allen was not stopped by the bullets. He was stopped by a mistake. He tripped. He tripped over a magnetometer transport box, a plastic container used to move the security equipment. That is what saved the leadership of the free world. Not a billion-dollar intelligence network. A plastic box on the floor. And that detail changes everything. Imagine if he had not tripped. Imagine if he had brought an automatic weapon instead of a shotgun. The death toll would have been measured in the hundreds. Outside the hotel, the situation escalated into a full military response. This was no longer a police matter. The National Guard was activated. Armed troops with M4 rifles took up defensive positions inside and outside the perimeter. The airspace above Washington was immediately locked down. Helicopters roared into the night sky, their thermal cameras scanning for secondary shooters. The capital was preparing for a coordinated assault. Why the massive military response? Because intelligence agencies know that a primary attack is often just a distraction. You hit the front door to draw the guards, and then the real hit team comes through the back. The National Guard locked down the grid because they feared exactly that. But investigators found something far more disturbing. They found a manifesto. Cole Allen called himself the friendly federal assassin. He outlined a violent anti-Christian ideology. He listed specific political grievances against President Trump. He was not a random madman. He had a target, he had a motive, and he had a plan that almost worked. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later confirmed the chilling truth. The president was the primary target. Trump publicly praised the rapid response of the Secret Service. And yes, the agents on the ground acted with incredible bravery. An agent took a shotgun blast to the chest to protect the perimeter. But bravery is what you rely on when your strategy fails. That is a bankrupt strategy. No nation on earth can afford to win that way. You cannot rely on an assassin tripping over a box. Run the numbers again. 2,600 attendees, 1 shooter, 1 injured agent, 5 shots returned. It took less than 60 seconds to expose a massive vulnerability in the American security apparatus. And you better believe foreign adversaries were taking notes. In Beijing, the Ministry of State Security watched the footage. In Moscow, the GRU analyzed the response times. In Tehran, the Quds Force studied the breach. They saw that a single man from California could penetrate the inner ring of presidential security. If a lone wolf with a sporting shotgun can get within striking distance of the entire American line of succession, what could a trained team of elite commandos do? This was a rehearsal. Maybe not for Cole Allen, but for the enemies of the United States, this was a masterclass in perimeter vulnerability. They learned that the magnetometers are a bottleneck. They learned that the K9 units can be bypassed. They learned that the subterranean ballroom is a death trap, and the United States government knows it. That is why the political fallout has been explosive. Republicans in Congress are not just asking for an investigation, they are pushing to fast-track a massive construction project, a $400 million White House ballroom. But this is not just a room for dinners. Look at the blueprints. It features a state-of-the-art subterranean bunker. They want to move these events out of civilian hotels and into a fortified military-grade compound. $400 million to ensure that the president and the line of succession are never caught in a fatal funnel again. Think about that for a second. The cost of a single Ford-class aircraft carrier is $13 billion. The cost of a single SM-6 interceptor missile is $4.3 million. And now, the government needs $400 million just to host a dinner safely. Because the threat matrix has fundamentally shifted. The battlefield is no longer just the South China Sea or the Strait of Hormuz. The battlefield is the lobby of a hotel in Washington, D.C. The front lines are the security checkpoints. Cole Allen did not contest his detention. He is currently locked down under 24-hour surveillance at the correctional treatment facility at the D.C. jail complex. He is sitting in a cell, but the damage he inflicted on the illusion of absolute security is permanent. He proved that the perimeter can be broken. He proved that the armor can be tested. He proved that the most powerful leaders in the world are only as safe as the weakest link in the chain. When U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro released the CCTV footage, it was meant to show transparency. It was meant to reassure the public that the threat was neutralized. But if you watch the tape with a tactical eye, it shows something else entirely. It shows a catastrophic failure of early detection. How does a man case a presidential venue on a Friday, purchase weapons, and walk up to the door on a Saturday without triggering a single intelligence tripwire? The NSA monitors global communications. The FBI tracks domestic extremism. The Secret Service advances every location weeks in advance. yet the system blinked. This is the reality of asymmetric warfare. The defender has to be right 100% of the time. The attacker only has to be right once. Allen was right about the blind spots. He was right about the approach vector. He was only wrong about the plastic box on the floor. The injured agent is a hero. The National Guard response was overwhelming. The evacuation was successful, but the margins of survival were terrifyingly thin. If the wind had blown differently, if the agent had not worn level 3A armor, if the shotgun had been loaded with armor-piercing slugs instead of standard buckshot, the history of the United States would have been rewritten in blood. The Secret Service Director Sean Curran knows this. The Pentagon knows this. The deployment of helicopters and troops was not just for security. It was a message, a show of force to anyone else thinking of trying the same thing. But force only deters those who fear it. A lone wolf with a manifesto does not fear helicopters. This brings us to the most dangerous question of all. If a massive security breach can happen at the most heavily guarded dinner in the country, what happens when the target is moving? What happens on the campaign trail? What happens during a motorcade? The $400 million bunker might protect the president during a speech, but the president cannot live in a bunker. The threat is evolving faster than the defenses can adapt. The footage of the Washington Hilton breach will be studied for decades. It will be taught in security academies. It will be analyzed by close-quarters battle instructors. And it will be dissected by terrorists. They will see the panic. They will see the bottleneck. They will see the vulnerability. This is the paradox of modern power. You can build a military capable of destroying the world, but you still have to protect the front door. Saturday, Cole, but the rule, look at the White House. But what? The device itself was a heavily modified smartphone, stripped of its original operating system and running a custom, decentralized Linux kernel. When the Cyber Division first connected it to their isolated forensic terminals at Quantico, the phone immediately initiated a localized self-destruct protocol. It was only the quick thinking of a junior technician who immediately submerged the device in a liquid nitrogen cooling bath that preserved the flash memory. What they extracted over the next 48 hours sent shockwaves through the highest echelons of the intelligence community. Allen had not just been planning a localized disruption, he had meticulously mapped the systemic vulnerabilities of the entire eastern seaboard. The encrypted messaging application they uncovered was hidden beneath a benign-looking weather widget. It utilized a rolling cipher blockchain communication method, bouncing signals across thousands of compromised Internet of Things devices, smart refrigerators, home security cameras, and automated thermostats, making the origin of the messages virtually impossible to trace. But the content of the decrypted cache was chillingly clear. Allen was communicating with a decentralized cell of operatives known only by numerical designations. He was designated as Node 0. The transcripts revealed a meticulous, years-long operation to infiltrate the private contracting firms responsible for upgrading the physical security infrastructure of federal buildings. They were not discussing pipe bombs or small arms. They were discussing the manipulation of SCADA systems, the supervisory control and data acquisition networks that govern the flow of electricity, water, and natural gas into the District of Columbia. One message, sent just 3 days before the incident, read simply, "The arteries are primed, waiting for the heart to skip." But the most terrifying revelation came from his browser history and downloaded cache in the 4 hours leading up to the breach. Allen was not reviewing the patrol routes of the Secret Service or the shift changes of the Capitol Police. He was obsessively studying the architectural blueprints of the deep earth utility tunnels constructed during the Truman administration. These forgotten concrete veins, originally designed to secretly evacuate high-level officials during a nuclear exchange, had been officially decommissioned in the late 1990s. The government claimed they were filled with concrete and permanently sealed. Allen's research proved otherwise. He had obtained classified geological surveys showing that not only were the tunnels still largely hollow, but they intersected directly with the main fiber optic trunk lines servicing the Pentagon, the CIA headquarters in Langley, and the White House Situation Room. He had also downloaded the schematics for the automated ventilation shafts hidden within the National Mall's monuments. He was looking for the choke points. The digital footprint indicated that Allen had successfully bypassed the firewalls of the Army Corps of Engineers to access these blueprints. He used a sophisticated zero-day exploit that had never been seen before in the wild. The exploit, dubbed Silent Tremor by the terrified analysts at the NSA who reverse-engineered it, allowed Allen to view real-time structural integrity reports of the subterranean capital. He was looking at the massive water pressure valves situated directly beneath Pennsylvania Avenue. If those valves were to be remotely overridden and forced to close, while the intake pumps continued to push millions of gallons of water from the Potomac River into the aging grid, the resulting hydrostatic pressure would cause a catastrophic rupture. The streets above would literally collapse, swallowing entire motorcades and effectively severing the executive branch from the rest of the city. This was the distraction he was planning, or perhaps it was the main event. The analysts could not be sure, because the final file downloaded to the device was a heavily encrypted executable program simply titled Cascade. When the Director of National Intelligence was briefed on the contents of the phone, an immediate and unprecedented gag order was issued. The narrative fed to the press was carefully sanitized. Cole Allen was a lone wolf, a disturbed individual with a personal grievance, and the system had worked. The breach was contained. But behind closed doors, absolute panic set in. The Joint Chiefs of Staff convened an emergency, off-the-books meeting in a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon. They realized that if Allen had this level of access, his network, the other unseen nodes mentioned in the encrypted chats, likely had it too. The government could not admit to the public that the very infrastructure beneath their feet had been weaponized. Doing so would incite mass panic and fundamentally destroy whatever lingering faith the American people had in their institutions. So, they lied. They spun a comforting tale of a thwarted conventional attack. But the continued deployment of the National Guard told the true story. Take a close look at the current positioning of the National Guard troops still stationed in Washington, D.C. The media will tell you they are there to deter further protests or to provide a visible show of force to reassure a jittery public. But look at where they are actually standing. They are not massed around the typical protest zones. They are stationed in seemingly random locations: an unremarkable intersection in Foggy Bottom, a small park near the Navy Yard, a specific stretch of sidewalk along Independence Avenue. To the untrained eye, it looks like a scattered, disorganized deployment. But overlay their positions with the classified map of the Truman-era utility tunnels that Cole Allen had downloaded. The troops are standing directly over the primary access hatches and ventilation grates. They are not guarding the streets from a threat coming from the outside. They are guarding the surface from a threat waiting underneath. And the threat is not dormant. The executable file, Cascade, remains unbroken. The greatest cryptographic minds at Fort Meade have been running quantum decryption algorithms against it around the clock, but the code is polymorphic. It constantly rewrites its own encryption keys, shifting its digital architecture every few seconds to evade analysis. However, they were able to isolate one tiny fragment of plaintext buried deep within the program's header file. It was a timestamp, a countdown. And it did not stop when Cole Allen was neutralized. The timer is still ticking, actively syncing with an unknown atomic clock server somewhere in Eastern Europe. Whatever Cascade is designed to do, its execution was not dependent on Allen's survival. In fact, some analysts argue that his attack on the surface was a deliberate suicide mission, designed to trigger a specific sequence of emergency response protocols that the Cascade program requires to function. He wanted the government to lock down the city. He wanted the high-value targets moved to secure subterranean locations. He wanted the grid stressed to its absolute maximum capacity. Who funded Cole Allen? A high school dropout from a forgotten Rust Belt town does not spontaneously acquire military-grade zero-day exploits and custom blockchain communication networks. The financial forensics are just as disturbing as the digital ones. Allen's conventional bank accounts were empty, but federal investigators found a hardware cryptocurrency wallet taped beneath the floorboards of his apartment. It contained millions of dollars in untraceable privacy coins, deposited in small, regular increments over a period of 5 years. This was a long-term investment by a sophisticated state actor, or perhaps a shadow syndicate with resources rivaling a small nation. They had groomed him, equipped him, and pointed him at the heart of the American Republic. And the terrifying reality is that he was likely just a beta test, a proof of concept to see if the physical and digital perimeters of the Capitol could be simultaneously compromised. The Secret Service is currently undergoing a massive silent purge. Agents are being quietly reassigned, early retirements are being forced, and entirely new operational protocols are being drafted in the dark. The agency is terrified of the insider threat. The encrypted messages on Allen's phone explicitly referenced a blind spot in the West Wing security detail, a specific 15-minute window during the midnight shift change, where the camera feeds are momentarily looped for server maintenance. Only someone with intimate working knowledge of the Secret Service's proprietary surveillance network could have known about that vulnerability. There is a mole. The silent countdown continues.